in regulating the immune systems, and almost all nutrients in the diet play a role in the maintaining the optimal immune response, and both insufficient and excessive intakes can have the negative consequences on the immune status and susceptibility to infection. So I will discuss this concept by sharing some examples and findings from the preclinicals and clinicals studies. So for the introductory remarks, this figure shows that the individual's immune systems provide a personal line of defense. So the skin, the mucous membrane, and the GI tract, which is the first lines of defense against the foreign substances. And if the immune system fails, body will become vulnerable to disease-causing agents, including the virus, resulting in the infections. And for now, we have many clinicals and preclinical studies have shown that malnutrition, including the deficiency of macro and micronutrients, will compromise the immunity, and that the impact immunity will opens the way for infectious disease, and then increase the nutrient needs and lowers the food intake for the individual. So as a result, nutrition suffers further. So it is also important to note that malnutrition, illness, and weakened immunity interact with each other. Then it will compromise the recovery and worsen the malnutrition. And a strong immune system depends on adequate nutrition because the immune response need the nutrients for the synthesis of antibodies and the cytokines, which is the special proteins that direct the immune and inflammatory response, for the cell multiplications, and also for the free radicals generations. Therefore, people with a depressed immune system, for example, elderly, they may benefit from the supplements of the selected nutrients. But exactly which nutrients are needed in greater quantities are not yet fully known for now. And for example, this study by Hannett et al. Which showed that the endogenous concentrations of the antioxidants, glutathione, vitamin C, the ascorbic acid, and the vitamin E, alpha tocopherol, were significantly reduced in the lungs following the influenza infection. So we can see the observed decrease in the antioxidant buffering capacity, which may reduce the ability of tissues to protect against the oxidative stress. So then it will cause the host more susceptible to the pathogenic effects of such agents, of the virus, for example. And oxidative stress is detrimental to human, and viral infection worsen the condition. If you look at these figures, which shows the balance between the generations of reactive oxygen species and their scavenging systems in humans, and we can see here that during the viral infections, during these viral infections, the equilibrium can be unbalanced, and it will resulting in the oxidative stress. So for immunocompromised people, they have higher susceptibility to infection. For example, the undernourished people, they usually, their diet usually lack in one or more nutrients, and then they can impair the productions and activity of the immune cells and the antibodies. And also for obese people, obesity is associated with the low grade of inflammation, and the fat tissues actually produce the adipose cytokines that can promote the inflammatory processes. And for now, research is early, but obesity has also been identified as the independent risk factor for the influenza virus, which possibly due to the impact functions of the T cells, the type of white blood cells. And finally, for elderly, And as we age, the internal organs become less efficient, and the immune-related organs like the bone marrow will produce less immune cells, which is needed to fight off infections. And aging also associated with micronutrient deficiency, which may worsen a declining immune functions. And finally, for beyond the older age, the risk of this severe COVID-19 illness and death are highest among people who have other conditions such as cardiovascular disease and diabetes. And both diseases are linked to the inflammation, low-grade inflammation throughout the body, which then will predispose the COVID-19 patients to the severe excess of inflammation, which eventually contribute to the lung failure and death. So this concept, which is the relationship between nutrition, immunity, and infection, is very important during the current pandemic because currently, according to World Health Organization in 2019, it shows that 39% of adults were overweight and 30% were obese. And at the same time, the more than 1 in 3 people of the world's total population suffer with chronic micronutrient or known as the hidden hunger. And 9% of the, which is the 1 in 11 of the global populations is over the age of 65, meaning that many countries in the world are moving towards an aged nation. So if you look at here, the worldwide rate of obesity is projected to reach over 50% by 2050. And in addition, both the undernutrition for children and adults continues to be a global health crisis. And these figures, which is the proposed by Hans et al. Recently in 2020, where the authors suggested that nutrition also actively shape how viruses evolve. If you look at here, at the figure A, in a primarily healthy, lean environment, the viral spread and is limited as a result of the robust immune responses. But as the incidence of malnourishment has increased, in this figure B, the authors has discovered that the resulting diminished immunity can permit the development of the virulent phenotypes. So in our current environment of widespread obesity, the global viral evolutionary patterns may change because of the increased host susceptibility and decreased host immunity. So the same authors also show that the baseline state of host cells influence the host antiviral response. Okay, if we look at here, compared to the healthy host, the baselines of the malnourished host facilitates a greater viral replication, and it potentially allows for the emergence of advantageous mutations. And other indirect consequences of poor nutrition may also involve, which is a blunting of immune response that may alter the microenvironment in which the virus attacks the host. So it is important that to understand the impact of obesity and aging on the immune system and the inflammatory response in the context of nutrition and inflammation. And we need to remember that both aging and obesity results in dysregulations of immune and inflammatory responses, causing the underactivity of T cell function, okay, which are responsible to fight against viruses and bacteria on one hand, and increase inflammatory responses on the other hand. So, for example, here in this study, mice with different nutritional status, they showed altered morbidity following the alphavirus infection. So if you look at here, for example, the obese mice here, the red dotted lines, they experience significantly greater weight loss following this myovirus infection compared to the lean mice. Okay. So in addition, in other animal model, which is in the high-fat diet-induced obese mice, the results show that obese mice have lower macrophages and Tregs during the pandemic H1N1 infection. So macrophages are the specialized cells that involve in the destructions of bacteria and other harmful organisms. And the Tregs, which is the regulatory T cells, are the specialized cells that suppress the immune response. So similarly, this slide shows that obesity lead to the higher mRNA expressions of interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha, which are the inflammatory associated cytokines. So this measurement actually was conducted in the lungs of lean and obese mice after infection with influenza H1N1 strain. And from this data, we know that obesity leads to a low-grade inflammatory state, resulting in the increased levels of TNF alpha, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and interleukin-6. And with aging, many aspects of cells function change, including the ability of cells to proliferate and produce important cytokines are also impact and increase cytotoxicity, enhance secretions of inflammatory cytokines, reduce antigen-induced proliferations, and also a decrease in cell divisions. And all these changes, it can increase the risk, or it make the elderly more susceptible to the infections and also mortality and morbidity from them. Now, how does nutrition affect the immune function? So there are many ways that nutrition can change the cause of infection. Nutrition can change the morbidity and mortality by regulating the oxidative stress and inflammation. Nutrition also influences the risk for acquiring infection through pathogen entry, regulates cell-mediated immune response by changing the vaccine efficiency. And there are also other ways as well, such as reduce pathogen virulence and impacts the microbiome. But for today's discussions, I will not focus on these last two. So for nutrients, I will discuss about these three nutrients, which are the vitamin D, vitamin E, and zinc, and their roles in the immune function. But before that, it is also important to know that deficiency in nutrients can impair the immune function. And in order to maintain a good immune function, we need to have adequate levels of essential nutrients. But we do not know that we will be able to improve more the immune function if you go beyond the recommended levels. And for now, there's still inconsistent findings in this matter. Right? So let's look at the first nutrient, which is the vitamin D. So vitamin D is unique compared to other vitamins in the human body because this vitamin D can synthesize in our body, and it was also found that vitamin D have diverse functions such as in immune responses. And this figure shows the mechanism for innate and adaptive immune response to vitamin D, in which the target cells, such as the monocytes, the macrophages, the dendritic cells, they expressing the mitochondrial vitamin D, activating enzymes and receptors, and they utilize this 25-hydroxy vitamin D for intercrine responses, which also include the immune response. And the immunomodulatory effects of the sunlight-dependent secosteroid vitamin D were also found by he et al. Okay, and these figures, the data shows that the association between the circulating 25-hydroxy vitamin D, which is referred to the orange line here, and the respiratory infection, which is the blue line. And the vitamin D levels in the human are known to fall to a lowest value during the peak influenza infection, and then and this vitamin D increase when influenza is scarce. So similarly, in a randomized controlled trial in Japanese school children, the authors tested whether taking daily vitamin D supplements would prevent seasonal flu. And this study is conducted for 17 weeks. And the result showed that the influenza rates in the vitamin D group were about 40% lower than the placebo group. And similarly, other meta-analysis data, they show that daily or weekly vitamin D supplementation lowers the risk of acute respiratory infection. And the findings from this large meta-analysis, they have raised the possibility that low vitamin D levels may also increase risk or severity of the novel coronavirus, which is a COVID-19 infections. Although there's no direct evidence on this issue because this is such a new disease, so avoiding low levels of vitamin D makes sense for these reasons. So for vitamin E, there's also evidence from a human study that vitamin E can reduce the formations of the pro-inflammatory cytokines in humans. So this study was conducted by Wanted on the hyperlipidemic subjects, where they look at the ex vivo productions of the cytokines by the white blood cells of the normal lipidemic and also hyperlipidemic subjects. So as you can see here, there was a significant reductions of in the a group receiving vitamin E supplementation in the productions of the inflammatory cytokines, which is the TNF alpha, interleukin 1 and interleukin 8. So from this study, vitamin E seems to have the ability to decrease the formations of the inflammatory cytokines. There is also evidence from animal study that the changes that vitamin E can cause in immune and inflammatory responses reflected in higher resistance from the infections such as the influenza virus. So the data, this data is shown by, is from the Han et al., where in which they used the mice, and the mice were fed for with vitamin E for 6 months. And as we can see, the animals were given vitamin E here. The animals were given vitamin E had significantly lower virus titer following infection with influenza virus, which is refers to the quantity of virus in a given volume of fluid. And this results was related to the less productions of the inflammatory cytokines, interleukin 6, and also the TNF alpha. And it is also interesting to note that in response to the virus, there is a significant productions of these inflammatory cytokines in the control group here. So then, but with vitamin E supplementation, it's able to reverse the excessive productions of these cytokines. So besides a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial was conducted by Madani et al. For 1 year, where a total of 617 persons elderly received vitamin E daily. And as you can see, the results of vitamin E significantly reduce the risk of all respiratory infections, upper respiratory infections, and common cold by 35, 38, and 37% respectively. Therefore, from this result, vitamin E can protect all those subjects from the infections. So to summarize for vitamin E, there is numerous evidence that deficiency of vitamin E can impair the immune response and resistance to infection. So the other nutrients is zinc, which is similar to vitamin E. There's a lot of evidence from animal, from human studies that have been conducted that zinc deficiency can impair many aspects of the immune response and ability of individuals to fight against the infection. And zinc deficiency is prevalent around the world. And according to the data by Wessel and Brown, 17.3% of the world population is at risk of inadequate zinc intake. And who are at risk? And the group at risk for zinc deficiency are the elderly, pregnant women, children, as well as the adolescents. And many studies have been conducted to look at the relationship between the zinc and the respiratory infection. And for example, in this double-blind placebo-controlled clinical trial, which is conducted in the Bangladesh, the 270 children were randomized to receive the zinc 20 milligram per day, and the results show that the group receiving zinc had reduced durations of this severe pneumonia, including the overall hospital durations. So in other study, which is conducted by Dr. Prasad, who supplemented elderly with 45 milligram zinc for 1 year. And the results show that there was a significant reductions in infection and a tendency to decrease in common cold and upper respiratory infection. However, in this study, the subject was too small to really see the significant effect for other infections. And related to COVID-19, it's also interesting to note that a recent study has shown that zinc can inhibit the coronavirus and arterivirus RNA polymerase, which is the key enzyme in the replications of the virus. And in vitro culture, zinc and zinc iron able to inhibit this proliferations of sarcovirus, which have not been demonstrated with the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which is the causes of the COVID-19. And to conclude, nutrition is an important factor in regulating the immune and inflammatory responses. And for this relationship, currently there is no direct evidence that shows specific nutrient or nutrition supplementation. It can improve the resistance in the current pandemic of COVID-19. However, there's still a potential for nutrition intervention in order to see the effects of the supplementations of a particular nutrient or a mixture of nutrients that can improve progression or changes the cause of these diseases. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you to all. If you have questions, you can email me later. Thank you very much.